Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of Cobra Kai Season 4, Episode 8. Who doesn't love prom? Or actually, should I say... Okay, this is a good question for the start from everybody in the comments. Did you actually enjoy your prom? Because it's like, I don't know a lot of people who say, my prom was fantastic. It was the best night of my life. I had like one prom that was okay, and the other one was just like downright terrible. So I don't really know who had like the wonderful, magical, perfect prom.
I had a magical night because I didn't go to
Okay,
prom
yeah, all right.
in Canada or in Toronto. I mean, prom is not really the same as it is in the States, but like, I'm not really into dancing and being around back at school if I don't have to be back at my school. So I didn't go to prom. I didn't go to my graduation either, actually. I went to go see a garbage
Okay.
concert.
Well, aren't you cool? Now, see, we in this. By the way, how are I know they said that they practice, but how are Tori and Robbie like magically good dancers all of a sudden? Like, come on.
I know. Okay, we're gonna get into all that. Plus, like, one big problem I had with the episode, which we'll get into a little bit later in the video. But before we get into all of it, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We've been covering all kinds of Cobra Kai this season. There's more to come, so stick around.
Here's the funny thing about this episode. It's like, to me going into it, I was like, okay, it's prom. Obviously, not everything is going to go perfect. There's going to be some sort of conflict. I, of course, thought there was a chance we'd have a fight or something. But
Yes, that fight's so good.
even with all of that, this prom still ended up being more disastrous than like I even predicted. I didn't think it was going to be this bad.
But Dimitri's Pac-Man
Oh,
jacket, come on, that was so boss.
how Dimitri went from like being like the saddest character on the show, and like he actually has a case right now that he's like the happiest person in this entire cast.
Yeah, he just goes to show that if you're just yourself, no matter what, someone will find you and love you for who you are, which is why he's such an inspirational character.
Yeah, he's got like a good relationship.
Yep.
He's not getting in as many fights as the rest of the people in these dojos.
No,
His friendship with Hawk seems to be at a good on you, Dimitri.
he's coming out on top.
Yeah, good for you. You're in an infinitely better place than any other younger character we will mention in this video.
Okay, let's talk about one of the things that I really liked about this episode a lot, and it has to do with Daniel. So we had everything happen with Anthony. Anthony, of course, is grounded. He's still kind of sneaking electronics in and doing whatever. But there was a moment where Daniel finally realized that his son is just not respecting him, and he yells quiet at him, smashes the electronics. But the thing that I loved about it was that Johnny's influence is there. He's actually breaking through to Daniel, whether Daniel wants to admit it or not. That moment I felt like was a huge breakthrough for Daniel, and it's because of Johnny.
I think it's good on so many different levels. Like, it's really good that we saw Daniel do it, and I think it's really good that it worked. Like, we see Anthony like go and take out the garbage unprompted, and it's one of these sort of things where it's been reinforced now. And so somewhere in Danny's head, whether he wants to admit it or not, there's gonna be this little part of Johnny just like doing his own little dance around and being like, see, I know what I'm talking about here. You're not always right. It is such a big light bulb moment. And I don't know, but I feel in my gut that we are going to see these two come back together in some way before the finale.
No, I think so too. And I mean, things are never going to be perfect for them. I don't think Daniel's ever going to completely make a turnaround where he's way more open to other people's sort of suggestions, or that he's not always right, but that the little movements give me a lot of hope for this character.
This episode is really just a variety of just like weird sorts of parenting and how things can go well and how things can go really, really badly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there were some pretty rough moments in this episode that really like seriously broke my heart. That scene at the end with Miguel and Johnny. Miguel, oh my God, his performance. I mean, this was something that I think we all kind of saw coming. We saw the fight that was happening. We saw Robbie kind of turn to Miguel and get in his head and be like, by the way, you're just the surrogate son because, my dad can't get to me. So you're just sort of the replacement. And then we saw at the end, of course, I think we all saw it coming, where Johnny was drunk and feeling bad and was like, I love you, Robbie. Miguel's heart just was smashed. Like, you could see the tears. It was such a good scene and such a great performance.
I think it shows further too how Cobra Kai, despite being funny and silly at times, like, it really dives into like all these interesting emotional layers, because I think, if you were to ask Johnny, do you love Miguel? I think he says yes, without question. I think he loves Miguel very, very much, but sometimes timing matters and circumstances matter. And when you're drunk, the idea is that you're losing a lot of your inhibitions and you're sort of saying something that's sort of latent within your heart that maybe you're not expressing all that much on a day-to-day matter. And because he says Robbie in that given point, because that love is repressed and that love isn't something that he's actually able to have on a day-to-day basis, he just says it at a time where Miguel is very vulnerable. Like, his prom just got ruined. He's just in this really, really bad space. And so he's basically getting kicked into the pool all over again here.
Miguel had such a bad time. His head is going to be so swimming going into this tournament. I mean, things with Sam are really rough. We saw Tori and Robbie go to the prom, and the idea for them was, we're going to go there and get into Sam and Miguel's heads. And it worked. It really worked. And they're not necessarily broken up, but not only did both of them realize that there's still sort of attraction and hurt and unresolved feelings with their exes, but now they both realized it in each other. Like, it's messy.
I would sit here and ask everyone who had the worst prom, but I think it's unquestionably Miguel, because Sam had a really bad prom too. Like, let's not overshadow that, but at least Sam has, like, parental figures she can go to after the fact on some level here.
Yeah, like, Miguel's got, things are rough with Sam, where he noticed, her having this moment with Robbie. Then Robbie's basically like, my dad will never be your actual dad, sort of thing. And then you add on top of that Johnny being like, I love you, Robbie. Like, Miguel is in a bad spot.
Yeah, and it's like, in the past, when Miguel would go through these sort of like emotional quagmires, he had karate as an escape. He could go to what was Cobra Kai, now Eagle Fang, and Johnny can be there to help take his mind off it. But the problem now is, of course, that Johnny is that father figure in real life as well. Yeah. So now every time he goes to karate, his sensei, he's going to be staring at the same person who just broke his heart.
Oh, and Miguel broke my heart, man. Watching him cry, it was bad.
Yeah.
My heart, man. He's squeezing my heart.
Yeah. And all of this is so juicy. And of course you think, okay, how can Cobra Kai continue to like echo these same themes with other people? And they found a really weird but really interesting way to sort of do it with Terry Silver and John Kreese and everything going on there.
So good. Like, it was so good. We had in the last episode where Kreese was basically like, you need to step in line.
Yeah.
Like, I need to know that you're loyal. You got to step in line. And we have seen Terry come in and try to do things a little bit different, but Kreese is like, no, step in line. Terry, this episode, all right, you want me to step in line? I'm going to step in line. No mercy. So he goes after Robbie because he knows that that's going to hurt Johnny. And if it hurts Johnny, it hurts the entire dojo. This is how Terry works. He's manipulation. He hits emotionally and he hits real hard. So he throws all this money at Robbie's mom and is like, here's a car for Robbie. Here's some money for you. Here's a job for you. Here's whatever you want, sort of thing. And it does start to get to Johnny a little bit where he's like, okay, somebody else is starting to step in and, help my son, help my ex, help, that whole family that I just abandoned, sort of thing. And it starts to eat into his brain. Then Terry gets this great idea. Yeah. We're going to take Johnny back to the old dojo. That will get in his head, of course. Then we're going to beat him to a pulp. So he will then go back to his own dojo, and his students will see that, and they will all feel defeated. Listen, Terry is such a good character. I'm so happy that he came onto the show. He's so manipulative. So he brings them to the dojo, calls in Kreese. It's like, hey, man, we're going to do this. Let's just beat him to a pulp and send him back to his students. The fight was really good. And Kreese ends up stopping the fight. And we know from Johnny, he has said Kreese was a guy who came in who was like a father figure to me. Yeah, it all went real sideways and whatever, but that was a role that he played in my life. And I think for Kreese seeing this happening, like he decides to stop the fight, which I think might have surprised some people, maybe not everybody, but it certainly surprised Terry because he just doesn't understand that inside Kreese, he was a surrogate son to him. And he knows himself that night that he like attacked Johnny and was like, choking him and punched him way back in the day, that ended his relationship with him. And that's something I think Kreese really regrets. Like, yeah, he can have a rivalry with him and all this sort of anger and whatever, but I think he's got regret there.
I think Kreese does have some element of a heart. He may not have a big heart, but I think he has some sort of a heart. And I think this scene is a really just like integral example of this. And I think one of the reasons why Kreese is so hell-bent on revenge in the first place is just because of the fact that he is hurt that, Johnny is elsewhere and Johnny is not with him. And I think that really continues to eat away at him, that he can't sort of make up for whatever wrong happened in the past. And so now he's just going full tilt. So in this scene, we see a little bit of, okay, this is a part of Kreese that isn't always there. And with Terry, I think we're understanding more. And it's funny because we had this discussion about weaknesses. I think one of Terry's weaknesses is probably why he got away from karate for so many years. When he gets in on something, I think he gets all in on something. He makes it his whole being, and it gets to the point where he can't think about anything else. He can't function properly if things go wrong, and he just has like that obsessive personality where he has to be the best or he has to do things his way, and when that doesn't happen, he doesn't know what to do with himself.
Yeah, and we've seen him in this episode especially be like, I'm loyal, I've fallen in line, I've done exactly what you said. You wanted me to sort of come back to Cobra Kai fully, no mercy. Okay, I am here, I'm doing exactly what you said, and now you're showing mercy. Like, I understand why Terry is so confused. He doesn't understand. He's done exactly what Kreese wants him to do, and now Kreese is like, no, we're showing mercy. And Terry's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So when we see him at the end with, Stingray's back, and we'll talk a bit about that, where he just decides to beat him to a pulp, like he's just so confused and he's unwound. He doesn't really understand where to fit in now. Like he had his own way.
Yeah.
Kreese is like, no. Okay, now you're going to step in line. Kreese is like, no. So now he's just like, okay, then I'm just out of control. Here's my thing with Stingray.
Oh boy, here we go.
This character did not need to come back. I'm just going to say it. He did not need to come back. For me, I've seen already the arc of Stingray. He was never really a great character for me that I absolutely loved or anything like that. I think that this moment at the end where Terry is beating him up didn't have enough impact because it wasn't one of the Cobra Kai students. I truly think that this would have had more impact if it was someone like Kyler, because it's one of the students, and then it affects everybody, and Kreese's decision that has turned Terry now spinning out of control. It needs to affect the whole dojo, and him attacking Stingray, who's not part of the dojo, doesn't actually affect the dojo anymore.
Here's my feeling about Stingray. I never liked this character, and I think it's just because he feels too much like a just, and I'm not saying, he's a total buffoon, but he's like the comedic buffoon character who didn't really have a place in the first place. He was just too different from all the other students that it never felt realistic enough in the world that Cobra Kai has created. And even throughout this episode, it still didn't feel realistic enough for this world. But ultimately, like, in my eyes, the reason they decide to bring this character back is just because I don't think Cobra Kai, at this point and where the show is, I don't think they wanted to show a kid being beat up. And I think it's one of these sort of things where I know not all these actors are even kids or anything like that, but I think they must have been really, really hesitant, even though I do agree with you that I think it would have been more compelling.
Well, and also we've seen Terry in this spot where he was older and, beating up younger people. Like, this isn't out of his wheelhouse.
No, it's not out of his wheelhouse. It's not out of the character that's been established through all the lore of the series. I'm just guessing that for right now, for 2021, Cobra Kai must have just decided, okay, we don't want to do this. We're just going to have him go and beat up Stingray, who nobody cares about. But that's also the problem. Nobody cares about Stingray.
Yeah, and that was my problem with it, is that there needed to be more sort of skin in the game. It had to be somebody who mattered, and it had to be someone who mattered to Cobra Kai, because then it affects Kreese. And Kreese is the person that it really needs to affect, because he's the guy who brought Terry in here in the first place. That's why I picked Kyler, because Kyler, underage, he's a kid, but he is someone that I don't think anybody watching the show is gonna feel bad, that is gonna get, the crap kicked out of him.
Well, let's get you guys' take on this as well. Like, do you think this would have been more effective if we saw a Kyler or someone else in this spot? Or, do you just hate Stingray and enjoyed seeing him get beat up? Like, no matter. We want to hear from you, but we want to also have a little bit of an All Valley discussion here.
Yep.
I have a little bit of a hot take. This is 17 and a half minutes in.
All right.
Are we in a safe place here?
We are.
I may be getting a watermelon kick or something. Okay. I don't really want to see Sam or Tori win the All Valley at this point. I am almost rooting for Devin. And okay, here's why. I want to believe, and this is me being completely delusional and naive, I want to believe that there's still honor in karate. And you know how, there's contestants on The Bachelor and The Bachelorette who are there for the right reasons or the wrong reasons or whatever.
None of them are there for the right reasons. They are on TV looking for love. You are looking for fame.
I want to see someone in the All Valley for the right reasons. And I feel like right now, Tori's main purpose is she wants revenge on Sam. Sam's purpose is she wants revenge on Tori. There may be other things mixed up in there, but I think if this was a Land Without No Rules and this was just the Cobra Kai purge, I feel like Tori and Sam would have sent each other to like the ER 100 times over at this point. Devin seems to actually have her eye on the prize. Like, she actually knows what she's going for. I will see myself out now.
Okay, so this is where I land on this. I think that Sam and the spinning watermelon kick, the tornado kick, it's been brought up twice now. We know that she's actually practicing it. I think we're all gonna see this work out the way that it's a little predictable, that she will use this kick and she will win. And that will be, that's how it's gonna play out. However, for me this season, I am Team Tori. I've learned a lot more about her, where she's coming from, and this episode in particular, where she's talking about sort of the overall theme of this season, that some people have privilege, some people just get, whatever they want, and other people have to work for it, and other people won't ever see anything like that in their lives. And you're talking about that, saying sort of, I want to see this trophy. Like, I may never have anything in my life that's like this, but to have this one moment in time where I can always look back at this trophy and be like, yeah, I did that. Like, I worked hard for that. I earned that. That's a thing that I can feel proud of. It's the first time that I've heard her really talk about this as way less about revenge. It's way less about kicking Sam's butt, that it really is something where she's like, I need this accomplishment for me so that I know that my hard work turned into this and that I can always look back at this. And I was like, okay, now I'm sold. I'm sold on you winning this, but I don't think it's happening.
I want to get there in a way with Tori because I do like her story a lot this season too. I'm still struggling to reconcile, okay, everything she says this season, including in this episode, which I do wholeheartedly believe. I do think that trophy would probably mean more to her than it does Sam, but she still has to find a way to, I think, conquer some of her like inner bloodlust and conquer some of those things.
I think she has this season. There's multiple times that she could have actually thrown a kick, thrown a punch. Instead, she's thrown glitter, left the job, and even here, she didn't throw a punch or a kick first. Sam did. Like, she has shown restraint this season, which is growth, and I like it.
Team Devin. Okay, all right, I'm not gonna
see yourself.
Okay, I'm done. I'm done with the Team Devin. Okay, well, I guess speaking of characters here who haven't been on the show in a long time and randomly pop back up, I guess we should mention that Shannon was also in this episode.
Yeah, she was.
I don't know what to make of any of that. I don't think they've done enough with that character.
No, and I mean, this character isn't... I mean, as far as we kind of know, Robbie's not even really staying with her really that much. I mean, at the beginning of the season, he was like living in the dojo or whatever. So, I mean, I think that this was bringing Shannon back in was just a Terry Silver move. He's like, I got you, woman. I got you, kid.
Yeah.
Like, I'm taking care of everything. You're even more of a loser. It's all just a power play to get inside Johnny's head. And it worked.
2 more episodes. I'm starting to get sad. I'm just like, 2 more. We're going to learn to... All Valley's going to be one of them, I'm assuming. We will, of course, be back to break down these final 2 episodes, set the stage. We know there's a season 5 already. We don't have to worry about that.
No.
All right. Well, give this video a like, hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys for being along in our virtual dojo here for these discussions, and we will see you here next time.